Have you ever felt like you're not fully in control of your own life? Like someone's pulling the strings behind the scenes, but you can't see who? What if I told you that every day you're being manipulated, and you don't even know it? Have you ever had that strange feeling deep inside that something wasn't quite right, but you couldn't explain what it was? Like your choices weren't fully your own, as if some unseen force was guiding your steps? Maybe you've agreed to do favors you never really wanted to do, stayed silent during arguments when you were actually right, or trusted people who later showed a completely different side. If that sounds familiar, and it probably does, then this video is meant for you. Because here's the harsh truth. You are being manipulated, probably every single day. It could be by people you love, by the media, by leaders, or by anyone who understands how to pull the hidden strings of the human mind. And the worst part is, you don't even notice it's happening. You don't need to be hypnotized or brainwashed through some dramatic movie scene. The most powerful manipulation is the one that makes you feel like you're in full control, that the decision was entirely yours, that the failure was your own doing. A lot of people live like this, quietly pushed and pulled like pieces in a game they didn't even know they were part of. And when they finally try to resist, what do they feel? Guilt, fear, confusion. Because over time, they've been emotionally trained not to fight back. And if you're thinking right now, this doesn't apply to me, you should stop and think again, because that's exactly the kind of thought a skilled manipulator would want you to have. This video isn't here to make you feel better. It's here to hand you the tools. The people who understand how to use manipulation, just like Machiavelli once knew, don't need to yell or force anything. They simply observe, figure out your soft spots, and act accordingly. They understand what truly motivates you, and if you don't understand it yourself, you will be moved by them without even realizing it. You're going to learn how manipulation happens without a single warning sign. You'll start to see the recurring patterns, the emotional setups, the small but dangerous mind games. You'll become aware of your own soft spots and learn how to guard your mind. Because real freedom isn't just about doing what you want, it's about understanding why you want it in the first place. This message is a call for those who are tired of being used. For those who've suffered quietly, been blamed for things that weren't their fault, silenced when they tried to speak up, emotionally trained to behave in certain ways. Right here, you'll begin to shift from being a puppet to becoming a strategist. But I need to warn you, once you start to see the truth, you can't pretend you don't know it anymore. So from this point on, prepare yourself, because what you're about to learn may completely change how you view other people, and how you see yourself. Have you ever noticed how some people always seem to get their way, even when they clearly don't deserve it? They don't yell, they don't beg, and they don't threaten. They influence. They draw you in. They make you feel like giving in was entirely your idea. That's not natural charm. It's a well-practiced skill. It's manipulation in its most effective form. A true manipulator doesn't act randomly. They observe. They take note of your reactions, your insecurities, your emotional needs. They recognize when you're hungry for approval, when you're afraid of being disliked, when you feel bad for saying no. And they use that. Manipulation begins long before any words are said. It starts with how they read your body language, how they interpret the tone of your voice, the silence between your words. Some will use kindness. They'll smile, flatter, and present themselves as unique. They'll make you feel understood, seen, and valued. But behind all this charm lies calculation. They're building an emotional debt within you. Because when someone treats you incredibly well, your instincts nudge you to give something back. That's when you begin to give in. Others go down the path of guilt. They position themselves as helpless victims. They'll say they're overwhelmed, misunderstood, that nobody really cares but you. Slowly, They make you feel like you're responsible for their emotions. And if you start to pull away or say no, they won't need to argue. A quiet sigh, a hurt expression, or a passive-aggressive comment will be enough. The subtle manipulator doesn't always ask you for anything directly. They lead you to offer it. Then, there are those who rely on fear. They paint worst-case scenarios. If you do this, you'll end up alone. If you leave, you'll never find anyone like me again. These manipulators don't need chains. They use thoughts. They make you question your own strength, and you stay stuck by your own fear. These strategies aren't new. Niccolò Machiavelli, in The Prince, explained in cold, clear detail how manipulation could be used as a powerful and acceptable form of control. He knew, far before our time, that people are moved more by emotions and self-interest than by reason. He pointed out that people are more influenced by what they see than by what actually is. Because while many can see a thing, only a few can truly understand or touch it. That's exactly what manipulation is. A carefully staged illusion made to feel like reality. The manipulator builds a stage, writes the script, and casts you in a role. You play along without even knowing it's all an act. And the most disturbing part? You start to believe it's your own story. But this illusion works only because there's already something within you that allows it to happen. A small crack. A personal weakness. A longing you haven't fully understood. That's the vulnerability that gives them the opening. Because if you don't recognize what makes you fragile, you'll keep getting played, and you'll call it friendship, love, loyalty, or respect. If this message resonates, hit the subscribe button and support the channel. Thank you for being part of this. You're not being manipulated because you're weak. You're being manipulated because you're human. Each of us has blind spots, emotional gaps, deep needs we don't always acknowledge, wounds that haven't yet healed. That's exactly where manipulators strike. They don't use pressure. They listen. They pay attention to what even you haven't noticed about yourself. Some of us carry a deep hunger for validation. Maybe we were raised to believe that love had to be earned by pleasing others. We grew up thinking that to be loved, we had to behave, to satisfy, to give. That emotional gap, the ache to be accepted, becomes the very entry point for a manipulator. They toss you a few crumbs of praise, and you offer them total loyalty. They tell you what you've been dying to hear, and in return, you give away your freedom. Others carry invisible guilt. Guilt for saying no. Guilt for choosing themselves. Guilt for setting boundaries. We were taught that taking care of our own needs is selfish, and that giving until it hurts is noble. That's why, even when something feels off, we stay silent, afraid of being cold, rude, or ungrateful. The manipulator knows how this guilt works. They present themselves as someone who only wants the best for you. And just like that, they gain control, using a twisted sense of morality as a leash. Then there are those haunted by fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of being left behind. Fear of being alone. They cling to connections, sometimes toxic ones, just to avoid the emptiness. And manipulators know this too. They offer a fake sense of safety, and then threaten to take it away. Without me, who would love you? They say. And you believe it, because your fear whispered it first. These emotional holes don't just appear out of nowhere. They come from old experiences, past wounds, things we've never fully faced. But as long as we avoid healing them, they stay open. And manipulators, those who come smiling but with hidden motives, know just where to press. Machiavelli understood that true power doesn't need brute force. It only needs knowledge of human nature. As he once wrote, people's emotions can change easily. They're easy to convince at first, but hard to keep convinced. So a manipulator doesn't try to keep persuading you. They just fill the empty spaces. They slip in where awareness is missing. But you don't have to stay that way. You can train yourself not to be so emotionally predictable. You can learn where your own vulnerabilities lie, and start to heal them. That's when you stop being an easy target. That's when you begin to live with awareness and strength. And that's what we're going to talk about next. How to build real emotional strength. How to become immune to manipulation once and for all. Are you ready to stop living like a hostage? Because the next move takes courage. Many people wish to escape manipulation, but very few are prepared to face the cost of emotional freedom. True awareness can be brutal, because while the truth may liberate you, it usually hurts first. The first wound you need to recover from is the false belief that being kind, understanding, and compassionate keeps you safe. It doesn't shield you. In fact, these qualities, when not paired with clear thinking, can turn you into an easy target. Building emotional immunity isn't about becoming heartless. It's about becoming conscious. It's about ending those automatic emotional responses that manipulators count on to control you. The very first step in this direction is recognizing your behavioral patterns. Just pause and take note. What emotional buttons make you cave in? Is it the fear of letting someone down? The nervousness that you'll be left out? Or the need to maintain peace no matter the cost? When you figure out what drives your responses, you start shifting the dynamics. The next step is to develop what Machiavelli would call emotional detachment. It's not about being cold-hearted. It's about learning to create mental space without losing your compassion. It's the ability to watch what's happening without instantly jumping in. It means not accepting every compliment as fact. It means recognizing when someone is using your feelings to steer your actions and choosing to pause and think instead of reacting. The manipulator thrives on your quick emotional response. They don't want you to think. They want you to feel. So instead, use your mind. The third step is to become unpredictable. Manipulators depend on knowing how you'll respond. They study you. They know that if they cry, you'll rush to comfort. If they flatter you, you'll lower your defenses. If they push, you'll cave. Your strength lies in surprising them. Refuse when they expect agreement. Walk away when they think you'll beg. Stay calm when they hope for a fight. These unexpected actions interrupt their control and push them to reveal what they're truly after. Another crucial part of protecting yourself is having a stable sense of who you are. The clearer your self-identity, the less you feel the need to prove yourself. And the less you try to prove anything, the harder it is for others to manipulate you. Manipulators feed off your self-doubt. They twist your view of yourself to fit their own version of the story. When your inner clarity is strong, their external influence weakens. And don't be misled. This is not something you master by watching a single video. This is daily training. Real emotional strength comes from repeatedly watching your own thoughts, saying no when you'd rather avoid conflict, and sticking to your decisions even when tension builds. It's a habit. And it's remembering every day that you owe no one more than your own mental peace. In a world full of emotional manipulation, staying grounded and mentally clear is an act of rebellion. Machiavelli once said that people must be either treated kindly or eliminated, because if merely offended, they'll seek revenge. While extreme, this idea unveils a truth most ignore. In the game of emotional power, neutrality does not exist. Either you understand the emotional battlefield or you are ruled by it. But what if the manipulator isn't a stranger? What if it's someone close? A parent, a partner, a boss, someone in your daily life? What if the person controlling you is someone you care about deeply? That's when things get harder. We'll soon explore manipulation within close relationships and how to break free from emotional control even when love is involved. And make no mistake, this will likely be your toughest battle. If this message speaks to you, you'll get deep insights from my book Beyond the Shadow. It explores Jung's main concepts and offers tools to help you understand yourself better. The link is in the pinned comment. It's easy to talk about manipulation when it comes from strangers. The real challenge starts when it's someone you trust. Your father, mother, partner, a boss who believed in you, or a friend from childhood. Manipulation in these relationships is more quiet, more damaging, and much harder to detect. That's because it hides behind words like love, care, and loyalty. And out of fear of losing these bonds, you stay trapped in emotional cycles that drain your energy, confuse your mind, and shake your sense of self. In close relationships, manipulation often doesn't involve lies. It involves twisting. It doesn't require yelling. It's subtle, suggestive. It doesn't stop your choices. It makes you feel guilty for making them. Slowly, you stop questioning things. You walk on eggshells. You avoid arguments. You change your behavior just to keep things calm. And one day, you wake up in a silent prison, built out of emotional obligation. In love, it sounds like devotion. I'm only doing this because I care. My life means nothing without you. But love that demands control is not love. That's emotional pressure. In families, it hides behind traditions. You can't treat your mother like this. You owe us everything. But respect born from guilt is not respect. It's emotional leverage. At work, it appears as loyalty. You should feel lucky. No one else would give you this chance. But gratitude used as a tool to control you is pure manipulation. Here's a truth you need to hold on to. Just because someone is close doesn't mean they have the right to violate your emotional boundaries. Love is never an excuse to mold someone with guilt or fear. But before you can break this pattern, you have to accept something tough. Not every relationship with love is healthy. Not every person who loves you knows how to love in a healthy way. And not every emotional bond is helping you. Some are holding you back. What can you do? Begin by creating strong boundaries. Set limits. You don't owe anyone a reason for your no. A calm, firm no often carries more strength than long explanations. Then speak up. Share what you see, what you feel, and what you will no longer accept. Not to get the other person to agree, but to claim your space for yourself. And finally, remain steady when their reactions come. Because they will come. Guilt trips, silence, accusations, emotional outbursts. Manipulators test your limits, hoping you'll back down. The hardest truth. Sometimes, real love means stepping back. It means leaving the unhealthy cycle and letting the other person face their own emptiness. Because as long as you keep rescuing, explaining, or justifying, they will never change, and you will lose yourself. It's not an easy decision, but it is a necessary one. Only when you break free from toxic attachments can you develop a sharper awareness, one that sees beyond words, beyond emotional masks, and beyond false intentions. And it is with this new awareness that we move forward. Now we look at how to use Machiavelli's ideas in today's world, to protect your mind in a time when nearly everything around you is meant to sway your emotions. This is your chance to reverse the game. Machiavelli never wrote to make people feel good. He wasn't concerned with seeming virtuous or noble. He wrote about reality, harsh, raw, and often ignored. And if you want to survive mentally in this modern world, you must learn to think like him, with clarity, careful strategy, and emotional distance. Let's be real. Today's world is full of influence and manipulation. Social media, advertising, politics, relationships, everything is driven by image, emotion, and perception. If you don't understand this, you'll get swept away by it. Machiavelli saw human nature as driven by feelings and self-interest. He believed that those who understand this reality hold the real power. He once said, "Men judge more with their eyes than with their hands. Everyone sees, but few truly feel." Meaning, perception outweighs truth. And that's how modern influence works. Those who shape the story shape the decisions. Those who manage appearances manage outcomes. And those who understand the emotional drivers of human behavior can guide actions without force. So what does this look like in everyday life? It means no longer living on emotional autopilot. Machiavelli didn't believe in universal morality. He believed in practical thinking. What is right for one may be dangerous for another. What sounds noble may be foolish in real life. Kindness without wisdom can be taken advantage of. Truth without timing can destroy trust. Boundless giving can turn into slavery. If you truly want to be free, you must first understand how to play the game, and play it wisely. It all begins with careful observation. Learn to understand people the way Machiavelli observed the nobles, not through their words, but through their actions when no one is watching. Study behaviors, not promises. Look at patterns, not explanations. Trust less in spoken words and more in the motives hidden beneath them. And most importantly, do not simply react. Predict. The manipulator always acts with intention. Your best defense is to stay a step ahead. Use silence as your tool. One of the greatest errors people make is overexposing their emotions. They reveal too much. They speak excessively. They explain when they should stay quiet. The Machiavellian mind knows that silence creates uncertainty, commands respect, and throws manipulators off balance. When you refuse to react as expected, the game loses its structure. It's within that unexpected pause that you take the reins. Another vital tactic is mastering ambiguity. Machiavelli once said that to keep power, one must seem virtuous, even if they are not. In today's world, this means adjusting your words, your body language, and your presence depending on the setting, without compromising your core. You don't have to put everything on display. Reveal only enough to shape perception. Hold back the rest, because true strength lies in what remains unseen. Most importantly, take full ownership of your emotional balance. The manipulator feeds off your emotional turbulence. They thrive when you are unsure, scared, or hesitant. When you deeply know yourself, regulate your emotions, and stay calm even under stress, you become untouchable. Machiavelli wrote that a wise man should follow the paths of those who have succeeded and imitate those who have achieved greatness. So even if he doesn't reach their height, he may still get close. In essence, use the knowledge of those who mastered the game to stop being a piece on the board. Now that you've learned how manipulation works and how to defend yourself strategically, one question remains: what will you do with all of this? How can you transform this understanding into inner power and a new way of living, one that cannot be easily shaken by outside forces? This is what we will dive into next. How to gain full control over your mind so that no one can ever manipulate you again. Are you prepared to cut the final invisible threads still tying you down? Then let's continue. We've now arrived at the most crucial part of this message, and possibly the hardest one to accept. If you don't take full control of your thoughts, someone else inevitably will. And it doesn't have to be a classic villain or some exaggerated manipulator. Sometimes it's someone close to you with a kind face. Sometimes it's a sentence you heard as a child and never questioned. Sometimes it's society itself that quietly programs you from a young age to follow, to submit, and to stay quiet. The manipulation that affects you isn't only in others' words. It's hiding in the beliefs you never challenge. It's wrapped in emotions you assume are facts. It's hiding behind choices that are actually reactions, responses shaped by fear, guilt, or the craving for approval. Real freedom begins when you stop calling conditioned behavior free will. But that freedom demands something from you. It requires you to let go of the fantasy that everyone has your best interests at heart. It demands that you break down the image you've built of yourself as someone who must always please, always understand, always be there for everyone. It requires strength to handle the discomfort of setting boundaries, to sit in the silence after saying no, to walk away from situations that hurt you but once felt like part of your identity. You stop being easily manipulated when you no longer feel the need to be liked by everyone, when the fear of disappointing people no longer dictates your actions, when your inner clarity outweighs your emotional dependence, and finally, when you can look calmly into the eyes of those who tried to control you and say, "No more." What you decide to do with this knowledge is entirely in your hands now. You can return to your usual life and forget what you've just heard. You can keep playing the game without realizing you're a piece in it. Or you can begin today. Start training your mind to observe, to evaluate, to resist, and to rebuild. You can become the kind of person who no longer gives in to emotional pressure, who sees through the disguises, who walks with certainty even when everyone else is running in circles. Comment below. At what point in your life did you realize you were being manipulated? What was the shift that made you see it clearly? Or are you still entangled in some emotional trap and need help getting out? Share your story. Speak up. Because expressing yourself is the very first move toward breaking the cycle. And if this video opened your mind, don't let it stop here. Watch the next one. It's just as vital, maybe even more. Knowledge is like a staircase, and every step takes you a little further away from ignorance. So keep climbing, because the truth doesn't just set you free, it transforms you. See you there.